Hi everyone, this is Tad Haas, and I wanted to take some time out of my busy motostays.com and Motosoul resort work to talk to you a little bit about the challenges that I've had on a couple of the F800 bikes and also an F650GS twin that Gala rides. Twice I've bent the bolts on my 800 because I spend a lot of time riding off-road, both instructing at PSSOR, going out and riding BDRs and all kinds of other things in Latin America, Europe, etc. But I've bent these bolts for my shock towers twice, and actually her bike now makes 3 because of the 650, and was looking for a way to solve the problem and found BestRest Product, their replacement rear shock bolt and mounting bracket. So today I'm going to spend some time on my 2014 F800GS Adventure, replacing the bolt, and also on Gala's F650 twin. The idea, of course, is that you're taking and eliminating the soft factory OEM bolt that I believe is like a 10.5 grade OEM, upgrading the bolt to a 12.9 replacement bolt, and adding with it this high alloy aluminum bracket, which is the mount and the support for it. This, I think, is the most important part because it takes the pressure off of the one point on the bolt and distributes it inside of 3 brackets in 3 places. And this is the kit right here, if I can get that out of there. And you can see it's pretty industrial, pretty heavy duty, cut and fabricated aluminum. It's one piece, so I'm pretty excited about what this is going to do for the bikes. In a few minutes I'll get my 800 up on the lift, pull the seat off, take a look at the bolts as they are. We'll go through the instructions and get this replaced, and hopefully this will eliminate the bent bolt problems I keep having, take the stress off the frame, get the shock back up to the direct level as opposed to bent as it's been on mine. We'll find a little bit about the bracket, the bolt, as we go through and do this replacement. So come on along with me, and hopefully you'll find this useful as well. Wanted to go through and just show you a little bit of how I was getting this set up for doing the actual work. Normally I would put this on the center stand or my rack to go through and do this work on my lift, but because the bike is pretty high anyway and I need to get in at the seat and all of that, I've just gone ahead and put it on the center stand in my garage. As instructed by the manual, I've gone ahead and put some blocks underneath, some wood, to go through and keep the tire stable and at one level. I'll be taking the seat off next and starting the work there to go through and remove the electronics and get access to the seat bolt and the things that are required after that. So those updates shortly. So this is what it looks like on the inside of a well-loved F800GS Adventure. Looks the same as in a 650 twin and in the new 700s as well. So just to give you an idea, the dust of course gets in here as the bike gets ridden and abused. What I need to do next is start to move this assembly off of here, disconnect the ECU brain plugs, get this electric off of the connections here, and expose this area, and the bolts and everything are underneath the plastic at this point. So that's what's next, and I'm going to jump right onto it with my F800GS Adventure. So as I go through here, the next steps of course are to get the plastic off first and get the electronics disconnected at this point. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. Pretty simple. There's 4 nuts that need to come off here to get access to the plastic, and then we need to remove the electronics that are down here and get access to the bolt down below. So be careful, these are small, you don't want to lose these down in the suspension area. So I'm going to go ahead and loosen them up here first and then come back to the details. So we'll go ahead and pull those off one at a time. As mentioned before, part of what you'll need to do is take some of the plastic parts off. Not much, and in this case really I just need to get these 2 panels off here to have access to all of the side pieces. So I'm going to go ahead and pull these off now. No big deal. And now we'll get access to the plastic pieces when I need to, and be able to pull those off of here when I do them as one whole unit. Okay, so I decided to take the panels off the top here because it was going to be a lot easier to get at the actual bike. Also gives me a chance to make sure my wires are properly connected on the things I've got going on here for the GPS, for the power outlet, for charging the batteries, the heatables for the gerbing gear, and all that kind of stuff as well. So I've cleaned this off a little bit, and now it should be easier for me to get in and get some access to these parts. So that's what's next. And you can see I've also pulled these out. I've disconnected right here. This is the first pin. Now I'm going to go ahead and, as the instructions suggest, clip away the cables so I can get at and pull each of these pieces out. So that's what's going to be next as we make additional progress. Okay, so I think we're getting to the tricky part. I ended up clipping off a few of the cables, the zip ties, as instructed by the manual. And now I'm trying to actually get into the assembly. So I've pulled each of these parts out. I'm going to go ahead and pull my tank bag strap off, get that out of the way, and then see where we're at with these. Get each of that. Let's see, that's been disconnected, that part's disconnected. Something is still connected down here per usual. Let's see, all right, I got that moved. Aha. This is where I have a connection down below. And how is that tied on there? Well, let's figure that out first, and then we will let you know. This is the component piece right below that I need to get disconnected before I can pull out the full assembly. Okay, most difficult part so far. There's a little clip that sits right on here. You need to push that forward as it says in the manual, and it's the little bit down here that actually connects and slides on that. As instructed, you push it forward and then you'll be set to go. So if we grab the camera here a little bit and try to show you a few of the other angles, you'll see a few of the other positions in terms of how we go through and do. This is what I was talking about, where this bit has to come off of here. Whoops, wrong piece. That turned around now. It actually ties right into this. So we need to pull that clip off by pushing it forward. You can see the little lockdowns in there. We had to cut the zip ties away from the sections here, and then we're able to take the whole seat assembly lockdown unit away, all in one very dirty piece. But now you can see that it gives us exposure to the actual bolt area, and I can see already that there's an angle that's bent right through here before I even pull anything apart. And that's what we need to go through and do next. So let's jump to it. Alright, what I need to do next is pull this assembly off of here. This is just a rubber mat that protects all of the bolt and stuff, the assembly that we get to. So let's see if I can just pull it off with my hands. Definitely not. We're going to need to find a little probably lubrication and a screwdriver or a hook tool to pry that out. So that will be the next step. Okay, a couple of important tool updates. I was spending some time panicking trying to find my T55 Torx bit, because I'm going to need this to go through and undo the bolt right here. A lot of sets come with a T50, and the T55 is larger. So I remembered finding this on my 3/4 as opposed to my 1/2 inch drive or 1/4 inch drive. So that's important as well. And then the other thing is a 16mm socket or wrench will go through and hold this. Once I actually make a turn, I should be able to put that on there and start the process for the bolt. And then, just as instructed, I'm going to go through and use a strap from my frame to my bag rack to go through and add some support so that the frame doesn't separate when I pull these apart, and I can go through and get everything in alignment as I pull these out. So a few tips as you're going through and preparing for actually removing the bolt and making the replacement parts go in. So there's your update for now. Okay, well, after some definite work, I was able to get the bolt out. This bolt actually came out quite nicely. This is the old bolt, and this is the new 10.5, 12.9. Notice how that rolls flat and straight. This does not. You'll see it sort of clinks and moves around. You can see that it's bent as I move it through. The other one I had was worse. But that bike, of course, had been through Mexico and 3 years of abuse. This one's only been through 2 years of abuse. But you can see quite dramatically that this is bent. It came out nicely as I was going through and pulling it out of the direct hole here. This bolt was more challenging with the T50 versus the T55, which you're going to need to go through and pull out the large bolt. You'll see that this is the format for the T55, and then the new bolt actually uses a hex, so should be easier and stronger. As Dave and the team recommends, I've put a strap, a brace across here so I can keep the frame centered and aligned as I go through and make the moves on each of these items. We've pulled out all of the plastic that allowed us to get in here for the seat lockdown and all of that. And now we're going to proceed by moving this, putting the new bolt, or the new, I should say, bracket, support bracket, in place. And that's all going to slide right in there and give us a dramatic improvement in terms of the bolt and the way this will work and lock down. You can see the very nicely billeted aluminum in the way that it's gone through and been cut and shaved, and will give us the kind of support we need. So, more on that soon. Again, as we look in the bike, you can see it's pretty dirty, pretty well ridden, and it was time for this replacement. So I'm glad I found the BestRest product. Now the next thing to do is to get in here and snip out this zip tie so that this wire bundle will be able to move down when we actually put the support bracket in, and that will be an important part for that to go in, and then we'll put the bracket and it will actually slip onto the part here that we're looking at. So you'll see it in just a moment. Okay, another important part, two things that aren't mentioned in the instructions. One is that you need to take this little cable tie wrap holder out so you can move this down and indeed get the piece in there. And two is you need to go through and remove this. This is the rubber gasket that's the stock one that fits in there, and of course this is what gets removed so that the billet piece can replace that. So you'll see now how this should fit in here, slide in, give us a brace. The horseshoe shape goes around the frame, and then the back bolt fits in down below. So that's what's next. Let's see. All right, let's see here. We need all of this to come in and down. Go find my rubber mallet and do it that way. Okay, you can see how the bracket fits in here now. Obviously, I'm trying to get everything aligned so that I can get the bolt through here. The shock has moved up a little bit, so I'm going to need to move the wood back so the tire drops just a touch and lets us get everything aligned. And a couple of whacks with the hammer helped move things into alignment here. It is a tight fit, as well it should be. But everything moved in appropriately. The aluminum came around the frame on the back side here, so I'm very excited about that. And at this point, this bolt looks like it's going to go through here without much drama, so that's important for us too. But I just need to get the last part of the shock mounted through here, and that's what we're going to work on next. So, because we want this all to be fully aligned so we're not stressing any of the threads as it's going through here. So while I've got a good first step, clearly this isn't the same size as the bolt, so I've got to make sure that I get it fully and properly aligned before we move it forward. So that's what's going to happen now. Okay, without question, the most important part of this whole operation is getting everything aligned in here. It took a few moments pounding the boards just right to make sure I had everything in good position. And now that I do, I'm able to get these things tightened up in here. I'm not going to obviously cinch it down just yet because I need to do the bottom bolt at the same time. But I needed to start here. And now I know I'm close enough in there where I can finish up and do the tightening down below. So now the trick, of course, will be to go ahead and get the bottom bolt replaced in here. So I need to make sure everything is lined up this way as I go through and cinch up the frame to tighten these bits. So I'm going to pull on it here, and that moved everything in a little closer. And then I just need to move the frame part down here a touch, and then I should be good to go with that. So there we go with the next move. Oh, I was making such good progress. Unfortunately, the bracket hole is simply not going to work the way it is, so I'm having to shave it just a little bit to get the bolt in for the lower part of the bracket. It is mentioned in the instructions that this may be required, and indeed on my bike it is. The problem being that I just simply cannot get the bottom part here to line up appropriately. Everything seems to be fine up top. It pivots the way it's supposed to. The hole is just a little bit off based off my frame and the situation. So right now it's a matter of taking a file and coming through here and giving it a little bit of a up and down to clear out some additional area, and then hopefully we'll be able to get the bracket and everything moved from there. So that's what I'm working on right now. More to come. Better this than stripping it, so I'm just going to be precautious, doing it with a round file to make sure to get it nice and even, and then we'll go through and give it another fitting. Okay, after a fair amount of work, I was able to get everything in its proper place. I'm just getting ready to torque everything down and make sure that we're fully locked down the way we need to on this. But I wanted to show you a couple of things. One, here's the full brace. The new bolt comes all the way across, and that of course adds a ton of support. It used to be a rubber gasket right here, number one. Number two, this was a less strengthened bolt, and same is true for the one down below. Each of those have been replaced. It was a very tight fit, and I did need to shave a little bit of the aluminum down on the bottom bracket bolt in order for everything to fit based off my particular frame. The tolerances are tight, and that I think is just one of the deals that you might have to deal with on that. So make sure that you've got the proper tools. T55 for up top in order to get that off, T50s down below, and then it changes to hex from the BestRest Products, so it's much easier to go through and get those, but you still need the right size hex and all the big stuff to go with that. So, got them in. Toe strap has helped with the alignment as suggested, and I used a few boards down below to wedge the tires in order to get everything moved in the way that we need to. And now my F800GS Adventure is set with the new support bracket and a not bent bolt. So I'm very happy about that, and we'll tighten it up and do a final review at the end of the process. So ciao for now. I wanted to go through and take a few minutes and let you know about the success I just had installing the new support bracket and indeed the accompanying strengthened bolt by BestRest Products. This is designed to work on the F800GS, 700GS, and the 650 twins. And the beauty of it is it supports the bolt on the top shock tower, which in most bikes, or many bikes, ends up getting bent. That's certainly been the case for the two F800GSs I've been riding, and I believe also the 650 in our garage as well. Now it took a little longer to do the actual install than I'd hoped. I was sort of thinking it might be about an hour, hour and a half. By the time I got everything started, got everything finished, it was really closer to 3 hours. But I'm happy with the end result. Indeed, the bolt I had was quite bent, and that was causing a problem for the shock to be misaligned. And now that it's straightened out, I think I'm going to be much happier with the ride. I know I'm much happier with the placement for the bolt and for the shock and everything else. What's important in the process is understanding that you need to have the right tools. And one of the things, a T55 large Torx in order to get off the factory OEM bolt. And you need to have the right large hex when you put on the new BestRest product. Now this is, I think, a 12.9 grade hardware versus a 10 something from the OEM. So this is much stronger and much more rigid, and you can definitely tell the quality of the product is much better. The other thing too is that for the stock product, this bracket is actually a rubber piece with a little bit of aluminum through the middle. So the fact that this now goes into the bike, positions and locks against the frame and creates a rigid mounting point means the bending pressure comes off now. It's no longer there in that one point of failure. You now have really 3 or more points of connection for the bracket. I used the BestRest instructions to go through from Dave Peterson. Thank you, Dave. They're pretty good. I think they walk you through most of it. I might add 1 or 2 more pictures to go through and just make things a bit clearer on some of the specifics. And just as he recommended, the use of a tow strap to keep the frame aligned and blocks of wood underneath the rear tire so I could go through and elevate were important in the way that I wanted to be able to go through and get the tire and everything lined up for the shocks. Because frames are different, because bikes have different types of use, the tolerances are fine. I did also have to go through here and file just a little bit of the aluminum in order to get the bottom bolt to fit properly. But again, I'd much rather have a tight seal and a tight fit than have things loose and shaking around. So I'm pleased with the BestRest product for the F800, 700, and 650GS twins. We're being able to go through and create a much stronger shock tower, create a much better, more rigid bolt, and give you confidence when you're out there hammering away on the trail like I do with my GS Adventure. So make sure you add that to your consideration and your upgrade list when you're improving your ride. So thanks again, and ciao for now.